Yeah.
But it's an exciting space. How are you feeling about it so far?
Well, excited, but I always have a feeling of pressure. I don't know if that's the word, but the pressure comes from, this is someone's personal space, okay? It's very important to them. So as much as ideas are there, the heart is always to serve them and create something that meets their needs. And that's something that's important for us at Hortus Eden, is we serve. We're here to serve you. So we serve our employees as we serve the client, as we serve our environment ultimately, because that's the whole point of all of this. We definitely have something to appreciate and get from well-maintained spaces, but ideally it's the health of the environment around us that we're actually contributing into, as everyone in their own space is taking care of that space. All right, so my name is Paul, and I run Hortus Eden. We've been in existence for 3 years now. We're a landscaping and garden maintenance company. In and around landscaping, that means we can help with virgin land. If you're thinking about installing a garden, we'll be happy to help with the process, thinking through your ideas and helping plan out. Then we help install, purchase the plants and everything around that. Then aside from virgin land projects, if I may call it that, existing gardens as well, which is the case here. So there is an existing garden, but the client would like to, through different phases. Right now we're starting with the lawn, but then the flower beds as well. Basically rehabilitating that which is existing.
Okay.
So yeah. So the client here had or has an existing lawn, but they would like it to look lush and green. So during the site visit, what we observed is that the existing lawn has been overtaken by not only just weeds, but the natural grass as well. We call it yokapinga. So only for 2 sections on the property are we going to be digging it out completely, because weeding it will not make sense. So this section and the one over there, we're digging out completely, level the land. We'll be putting in some compost and then bringing in some grass runners. For the rest of the property, we're going to be weeding out what we don't need, and then yeah.
So for someone who wants to put in a new lawn from scratch, what would your 3 tips be?
Okay, for lawn, just like it is for plants, when you and I are thirsty or hungry, we have the privilege, the ability to walk to the fridge or into the kitchen and make something for ourselves. It's not the same with lawn or plants. Where they lay or where they sit is the only place they can rely on. So tip number 1 is the soil is everything. So there are some clients who say, no, just plant the grass runners for me, I don't care about. That can be done. But what you're doing is you're compromising the future health of your lawn. So tip number 1 is your soil is everything. Number 2 is the space within which you're putting in your lawn. In this case, I'm referring to grass runners. Is it a shady area? Does it get semi-shade or is it full sun? What are the microclimate conditions of that space? Because then that tells you what type of lawn to then put in. Because sometimes our lawn spaces may not do well simply because we've put a certain type of lawn in an area where it should not be or may not thrive properly.
That's really interesting. I always assume that, just do the common, there's Richmond, there's Buffalo. I thought those were the go-to.
And then the third, well, there's a lot that can be said, but I think the third for me then would wrap around into the whole maintenance issue, because sometimes we want a beautiful space and we conceptualize how it will look, what we want to go into it in terms of plants or the lawn, but then we don't think much into maintenance, and that's where the problem comes in. I believe that your design, the plants, the lawn that you buy is only 50% of the work. 50% is maintenance, and if you get that wrong, then that's a problem. So in picking the type of lawn and everything in and around that, you should also think about your maintenance needs. Okay, do you have a gardener who can tend to the lawn? Is your lawn going to have a lot of foot traffic? So then that also gives you ideas on what type of lawn to put in and that sort of thing. Does it need to be more hardy and so on? This area, the soil is healthy. It looks loose, but then for other areas on the property, that isn't the case. So, which is why in the beginning I mentioned that one thing we're going to be doing is bringing in some compost, because we need to get more organic matter back into the soil, and it's easier to guarantee that with compost than with topsoil.
True.
So once that's done, that's also important, because if the client does choose to move on to bringing plants in and so on, just like the lawn, the plants themselves will also need
a good base to start from.
A good base to
yeah,
start.
because I can see, I'm looking at the discoloration of this Dracaena.
Yeah.
What do you think is the issue here?
Well, this particular site has problems in as far as the water situation. That is a problem. I do know from the conversations I've had with the client that the maintenance was not up to par. And then from our site visit, we noted that there were problems with the soil and the ground. Aside from the soil type, there's a lot of termites and ants in there as well. So all these factors will definitely contribute. If a few of these factors were non-existent, then it's easier to pinpoint and say it's specifically this.
It's never just one thing.
It's never just one thing, no. It's never just one thing. So this is the utility area, and pretty much the same as on the other end.
Yeah, the Kapinga is just completely taken over.
Yes. So
no evidence of the original lawn.
Yeah, we'll be digging that out. But then another key, I spoke earlier about understanding your space, what you're trying to achieve. So that avocado tree there just grew on its own. I think they had like a rubbish pit in that area or something. But then this we will be transplanting. Right now, the client is thinking of potentially moving it to a different property of theirs. But what I just wanted to speak into is...
It's a lovely tree. It's really healthy.
Yes. But in as far as position, because now you're thinking about...
Too close to the boundary.
Too close to the boundary. When you look above you, this is not the final height of the tree.
Yeah.
So...
right under the electricity power lines as well. Zesco won't be happy. Near the electric fence.
Yes.
And a water tank. You don't want it dropping avocados onto that.
Exactly.
It's
so, in as far as landscaping and maintaining your garden, excuse me, this is one key aspect to it. It's understanding the journey that your plant or plants are going to take. So it might look pretty and nice when you buy it from your plant nursery, but then if you ask the people selling the plants, what's the full height of this plant I'm buying, and then they say it's, for example, or for instance, 4 meters, and the space that you're thinking of putting it in, that height may not really work. So as much as you love it, then you know that that's not the right position for it. So it's a healthy, lovely tree, but it's just simply wrong position. So if I can speak more to the space we're in now, to my left you have 1-story apartments.
Yeah.
And I guess for privacy you would want to screen that off.
Yeah.
The type of tree, there's a variety of trees that could be brought in. Speak to your plant nursery experts, but the conditions that I would speak into or comment in is you don't want anything that's going to compromise your boundary wall in as far as the foundation. And the reason why I've said speak to the people who you're buying these plants from, they'll be able to tell you this plant either has a tap root system or not. If it's tap, it simply means the roots just go vertical downwards, okay? Or do they spread out? That's the main thing in as far as the roots.
Ficus is one that I know that you should definitely not plant because it has those very aggressive roots, and they do damage the walls.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Your acacia as well, depending on the type, but mostly acacia
is okay.
No, is not
really?
okay.
Oh, okay.
No, and for it you'll find that in certain cases it actually goes after your water lines if there's anything close by, which is understandable. So that's a good point, because certain trees are beautiful to look at, but in as far as their growth journey, they are detrimental depending on the space that you have there. So for here, it will mostly be a root system that I would pay attention to. And then in as far as height, I know that I have a power line at the very top, so I don't want anything that's going to get very big. You may plant that, but then it means you just have to pay attention to maintenance, pruning it down. But if you're really not interested in doing that, then you want to get something that will not compromise that. There are things you could do to help mitigate these two factors, and that's bagging. So instead of planting it directly into the ground, there are these very nice, I'll call them sacks, but they're heavy. So you plant it into the ground whilst it's still in the bag. So that then helps to mitigate how high it will go, and in certain instances, not so much though, the root system, depending on the type of tree. Some people will put them in concrete flower pots, but then that may not be advisable, because for certain plants, that whole concrete situation is a detriment.
Too much lime.
Yes, is a detriment. So
okay.
I know people who've done that. I wouldn't advise it.
Concrete pots and then put it in the ground, in the concrete pot.
I have seen that before, many times actually. You'd be surprised.
You learn something every day.
Yeah. A garden like this one, after speaking with the client, I do know that it does not reflect interest, but more so just a time factor. They would love to work on the garden, but they just don't have the time. And speaking into maintenance in that regard, it means the gardener is left to themselves because they don't have the time to manage the gardener. And that's one of the services that we provide, because we do appreciate that sometimes you have the interest, you do have an understanding, but you just don't have the time to deal with the gardener supervision, ensuring they've done certain things and that sort of thing. So we're happy to help, and that's pretty much the case in this
situation.
Yeah. So the shape of the property is more rectangular, all right? So that's the first place where we would go, because it's rectangular, it's not very big. The house takes up most of the space. So ideally what I would like to do is, with what's planted, break up the feeling of the walls coming in, okay? So instead of in the spaces like here, where I have more room, I would not maintain the straight flower beds. I would want to put some curves in. Just that small change, because the wall is straight in this corner, okay? The space is rectangular. Putting the curves in already brings in a very important change of feel.
It adds depth, I think.
Yeah, it does add depth. But then also I know that they have in the front section here, you have these panels that are a feature on their own. So that already tells me that whatever I put in, for example, from that area coming in this way, should not overtake the feel of that. It's different from what I would do here, all right? Because the backdrop or the background is always important as well. Sometimes your plant choice is excellent, but for example there, because the client spent a lot of, I'm assuming, money and effort into the design and wanted to look a certain way. So as a landscaper, I would then pay attention to that. I'll go back to the point of maintenance again. The reason why we try not to impose and insist is we'll do the job and we'll leave. You remain with the space and the garden. So you might love it, but if it wasn't tied into your needs and how you utilize your space, then it becomes a problem.
But you see other landscapers doing and other people doing jobs in different spaces. What would you say were some of the things that you've noticed in terms of the trend?
Okay. As much as I can look in to other landscapers and make comment, they can look back this way and make comment as well. So I guess the place where I'll be making the comment from is certain things are happening, we're living, we're learning, we're excited, we are executing, we're making mistakes, but we're not learning from them. And sometimes we're purposefully, okay, either mistreating clients or employees. So pain point number one that landscapers are making, and I guess I'm speaking into it more from a corporate space, because that's the space we're in. I'm well aware that there are landscapers who operate at a smaller level, so to say, smaller quote unquote. But within the corporate space, it's a big pain point for me as a landscaper is to see landscapers that mistreat their workers. Generally, there's no company that can exist without employees. So within mistreating them, one issue is you're not even training them. So there are situations where landscapers have had people working for them and with them for close to 10 years. But it pains me to know that that person who's been with that company for that long does not even understand the importance of what they're doing. Because remember, earlier I had mentioned that we're all feeding into this one ecosystem. Okay, there's an ethos that we're trying to encourage within the land of Zambia, so to say. But we always speak about, for example, the Keep Zambia Clean campaign, right? The Keep Zambia Clean campaign, you'll see the local authorities putting bins, and then we all complain at some point saying no one is putting litter in the right place and so on. Really, it's a mindset change that's required, and that's the point I'm trying to get to. The big thing is we love green spaces, okay? We would like to see the way things work in our country, and specifically our city, Lusaka, change. So we recognize that someone who's working within this space, it's important that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. But in most cases, you find that with landscapers, that's not really an issue. So it's a pain point, and like I said, that's within the corporate space. And that's a big thing for me. Remember, I started as a casual worker. So sometimes you'll find that aside from just teaching and explaining why we're doing certain things, because remember, I work for Hortus Eden, but when I knock off at 5, I have a personal space that I live in. And if I don't appreciate green spaces in whatever form or fashion in that space, I feel then what are we doing really? Because on one end, as a landscaper, you say you love green spaces, you're all for that. But you need to recognize that how you interact with the people that are helping in that journey is also important in as far as impacting the greater
mission,
green space ethos within the city.
Before we switch off, is there anything else I didn't ask you or you want to talk about, or just mention?
Well, in general, it's just to give you guys at Green Space a big shout out. If no one tells you, you're doing an amazing job. In and around knowledge sharing, I think it's a very important thing. Like I said, we live and we learn. And as you know, some of us rarely like posts or comment. So you may not see that traction in that regard from viewers like us, but we love what you're doing. And as Hortus Eden, we're very humbled because we're small with big plans, big dreams, but be given an opportunity to bring you into our world. If it's not showing, I am very nervous. I don't like being in front of the camera, so yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
appreciate
I
that.
appreciate the flowers so much.
Yeah.